In the heart of rural America lay a vast expanse of cornfields, stretching as far as the eye could see. Nestled within this sea of golden stalks was a small, isolated farmhouse. Surrounded by acres of farmland, it was here that the Johnson family lived, blissfully unaware of the horrors that lurked just beyond the edge of their property. One warm summer evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the fields, strange noises began to echo through the corn. At first, the Johnsons dismissed the sounds as nothing more than the rustling of the wind through the tall stalks. But as the night wore on, the noises grew louder and more sinister. Terrified, the family gathered inside their farmhouse, bolting the doors and shuttering the windows. But their sense of security was short-lived, for soon they heard something scratching at the walls. Something hungry and malevolent. As the hours passed, the Johnsons huddled together in fear, praying for the dawn to come and banish the darkness that enveloped their home. But when morning finally arrived, they found themselves trapped in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. For lurking within the cornfield were creatures unlike anything they had ever seen, twisted abominations with gnarled limbs and glowing eyes, hungry for flesh and blood. With each passing hour, the creatures grew bolder, venturing closer and closer to the farmhouse in search of their next meal. Desperate to survive, the Johnsons barricaded themselves inside, but it was only a matter of time before the creatures broke through their defenses. In a final, desperate bid for freedom, the family makes a run for their car, hoping to outrun the horrors that pursued them through the corn. But as they fled across the fields, they soon realized that the creatures were everywhere, surrounding them on all sides. With nowhere left to run, the Johnsons were dragged screaming into the darkness, their fate sealed by the terror that lurked in the cornfield. And as the sun rose once more over the desolate fields, there was no sign of the Johnson family, only the eerie silence of a place haunted by unspeakable horrors. For in the heart of the cornfield, evil lurked, waiting patiently for its next victims to wander too close to its grasp. It's past, and the Johnson family's farmhouse stood empty, a haunting reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded within its walls. Rumors swirled among the locals, whispered tales of the cornfield's malevolent inhabitants, warning others to steer clear of its sinister embrace. But despite the warnings, curiosity drew a group of adventurous teenagers to the edge of the cornfield one moonlit night. Ignoring the ominous warnings, they ventured into the swaying stalks, their laughter masking the unease that gnawed at their insides. As they wandered deeper into the maze-like expansion, the air grew thick with an oppressive sense of dread. Shadows danced along the edges of their vision, and the rustling of the corn took on a sinister tone. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the stillness of the night, echoing through the cornfield like a primal cry of terror. The teenagers froze in horror, their hearts pounding in their chests as they searched desperately for the source of the sound. And then they saw it, a twisted figure emerging from the darkness, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. With a guttural snarl, it lunged forward, its gnarled limbs reaching out to ensnare its prey. Panic sets in as the teenagers scatter, running blindly through the corn in a desperate bid to escape. But the creatures were relentless, hunting them down with savage efficiency. One by one, the teenagers fell, their screams drowned out by the rustling of the corn and the hungry snarls of their pursuers. And as the night wore on, the cornfield claimed its newest victims, adding their screams to the chorus of terror that echoed through the darkness. When morning came, there was no sign of the teenagers, only the desolate silence of the cornfield stretching endlessly into the horizon. And as the sun rose once more, casting long shadows across the fields, the creatures retreated back into the depths of the corn, waiting patiently for their next unwitting victims to stumble into their domain. For in the heart of the cornfield, terror reigned supreme, and those who dared to enter its grasp were doomed to become its prey.